You did a great job.
There
You
we
know,
go.
when I was taping Steve Junknowitz there doing that bit, he did say he messed up and wanted to do like a second take, and he says if Jim was here, he could fix that. You know? And I said I could fix it too, Steve. You know, so and you helped us out a lot with our show. You know, you're the one that told us go to Super VHS.
Oh, yes, definitely.
I want to say, and I know we go back a long time.
Don't tell everybody that.
We're not that old. Jim Burton, if it wasn't for Jim Burton, there would be no sports coverage for these high school kids, youth programs from way back when Sean was a little kid. And there was nothing. And all of a sudden there was Jim Burton. And there was youth sports, and then there was high school sports. And you know what? Believe me, there was no money. Yeah, we didn't make no money doing this. You know, and if it wasn't for Jim Burton, we wouldn't have this. So he is the founding father.
Now let me ask you something. Andy's here working the camera, and I know you guys worked on. You were doing like a live project that I think it was an inaugural, right? Was that like maybe 4 years the first inaugural thing for Mayor Doria?
That's when Doria
you
first
did
did
a
it, right.
live with amateur equipment, really, essentially, but you know, making it like a big live.
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
I mean, how did you guys put that together? Who was with you on that? You, Andy, who else?
John Hester was there. My gosh. That was so long ago, I can't remember who all the crew was.
You could give him hints, Andy. Go ahead.
Russell King,
Yeah, Russ King was there. Russ.
Cablevision.
Did you see that little Mr. I Can Do It All?
Oh, no, I
Uh-oh.
missed it.
I want to get on Jim again. Get on Jim again and put that little bug up there. Mr. I Can Do It All, because he can do it all. He could be a sports official, he could be a cameraman, he could be a director, he could be a producer. And you know what? He's a daddy, he's a pal, he's a friend, he does it all.
Well, I only knew you like from this Cablevision and helping out the fire department stuff. I was there at Chief Lynch's testimony and that was. I wish we could show that. That was a funny tape that you put together. But I didn't know you were an umpire. You know, I don't know. I guess half the things that you do around town.
Well, it's kind of tough because one person once said to me, if you ever decide what you want to be, you're going to be very good at it. And I like diversification. I'm not a person that can lock into one thing and just keep doing it repetitively. I love doing television, and one of the key factors in doing television is I'm a people person, and you get to meet a lot of nice people. Occasionally you get to meet some of the other kind, but most of the time you get to meet a lot of nice people. And my employment at Cablevision showed me a lot. There are so many people that you want to thank. You know, I can understand how a person getting an Academy Award feels. It's like, who do you thank for this? But my career at Cablevision was solely at one person's vision, and that was Francisco Saldana. He was the one that brought me over to Bayonne. He was the one that basically turned me loose and said, do what you got to do.
Now, when you say brought you over to Bayonne, you didn't live in Bayonne at the time?
No, I'm a native of Essex County. I went to Clifford Scott High School over in East Orange, lived most of my young adulthood in East Orange, and then I left East Orange to join the military. I was a 26-year veteran of the United States Air Force. And getting out of the Air Force, I was undecided where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. And the last place I expected to be was in New Jersey. One of the last places on the earth I thought I would ever be is Bayonne, New Jersey. Many years ago, when I was a young, unintelligible teenager, I came to a party in Bayonne. And being outsiders, you were recognized immediately, and we found out how easy it is to get removed out of Bayonne. You know, and I learned a lot from that experience, and one of the things I learned is that people accept you on the basis of two things: who you are and what you mean to them. And first impressions have a lot to do with things. So I try to make a good first impression on people.
That means I'm in trouble.
Nah, not you, Chucky.
I want to hold, not to interrupt you because you're really going here, but we heard something a little while back from our guy Henry the Hammer, and I want to know what year and when Dionne Warwick You were playing a young Jim Burton was playing a little horn on Dionne Warwick's song. And give us the song and the year.
It was Anyone Who Had a Heart. The year was way back in 1960 something. I can't put a finger on it.
Dionne Warwick.
Well, her brother and I were very good friends. I can't remember his real name. We used to call him Pookie.
He died?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that when we were young, some of us were studio musicians. We played around the studios and did a soundtrack for a song. Later on, that soundtrack came out to be that song.
Was this like any in conjunction with Burt Bacharach or any of
No,
real fame?
In those days, musicians were a little bit different than they are today. If you were fortunate enough to have any talent whatsoever, some of the recording studios would pick you up, sit you down, and you got to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But most of the time, you weren't making anything. You know, it was just the pride of being there.
And
Do you still play?
Yep.
I stopped playing professionally several years ago. It stopped being fun. But I still pick up the horn occasionally and play. The pastor of my church, he's a stickler for music, and he made us promise that we would get a group together to play in the church.
So to plug out
do
for the
that.
church.
Of course. Friendship Baptist Church right here in Bayonne.
Okay, here we go.
Pastor H. Gene Sykes. And, you know, that kind of music I can play. Something that's meaningful to a lot of people, but I don't think I would ever go back to that grind of playing for profit every night because it takes its toll on you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, back to the cable vision. That's where I basically know you from. And I would see you popping up at different events. Like, I'm going just to be there, like, the tree lighting or something, and all of a sudden, oh, hi, Jim.
Yeah.
You know, because you're covering the event. Can you, some of these shows that they used to have, way before Mike and the Coach, can you name me, you know, rattle off some of the shows that you worked with at the beginning?
Well, I can tell you, out of all of the shows I have ever done, the most rewarding show to me was 60 Plus with Lillian Kareem.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Lillian is one of the greatest minds I have ever seen. She would come onto the set, she would sit down, she'd have her little notes, she'd look at her notes, sit her notes down, bring her guests in, and from then on, she took charge. And watching that woman work was wonderful. I mean, no prompting, no nothing. She went through it and take a cue. She was wonderful at taking cues because there was a time when the 3 cameras that are in the studio now were sitting there without camera operators. I was in the control room directing and keeping in touch with people and doing audio and everything else. And in order for that to be successful, you had to have a mind like Lillian's who could carry a show with very little guidance, and she was wonderful at doing that. The next show that had a lot of meaning to me that we did was our sports shows in here. We went through a variety of sports shows, and the whole gist of it was to give the exposure to the student athletes at the high school level. Students in high school work just as hard as the college students do. They have the same programs and they have a much tougher academic schedule. They're in school early in the morning till early in the evening, whereas the college students got 2 classes on Monday.
They've got to fit those sports in.
That's right.
That's a difference, right?
And, you know, when you look out across the nation, high school sports gets very little coverage. So when I came to Bayonne, I said, you know, we've got a great sports program throughout the city. Bayonne High School, Holy Family Academy, Marist High School. Now you've got Messiah Christian High who's coming up. They have a basketball team now.
Christian community.
Yeah. And nothing was happening with these teams. I know that previous to my coming here, one of my relatives...
Okay, let's take that. How did that happen? Did you go, I want to go do sports and go find people? Did people come to you the other way?
I went out and I took it upon myself to say, we are going to cover sports for the city.
Okay.
And I sat down with my boss and I said, you know, boss, I think this is something good to do. And his reply to me was, well, we don't have it in the budget, but if we can make it happen, let's make it happen. And we made it happen.